Man, what a beautiful day today. Oh, so much different than the last several days where it was kind of rainy and certainly incredibly cold. Today, we're going to be up in the 50s. Tomorrow, rain. So today what I thought I would do is, while I've got some good weather, is maybe try to get this track on the sawmill laid and get it all constructed. And see if we can't get a little step closer to getting this thing operational. Like, I'm dying to use it. And we'll get there, I'm sure. But today, while the weather is good, we're going to try to get out here and construct and install the track for the HM126. And yeah, I think it'll be an awesome day. A lot to do. So let's do this. All right, so I'm going to use the tractor, and we're going to be loading up our 3 boxes and taking them over to the build site. But first, in order to pick these up and move those, I've got to grab some sand out of the back of my truck, and we've got to level some paving stones that Dylan and I, my son, he and I placed the stones a couple of weeks ago when we had a little bit decent weather. We placed the stones to get an idea of the dimensions of the sawmill track, of the bunk line. And so we laid the stones down, we measured it out, we said, okay, this looks like it. Well, as you start to look at it, you realize there's no way. It's nowhere close to being level. It's nowhere close to being plumb. And so we've got to get all of those stones relatively level. Now, they don't have to be 100% level because the bunk track here, let's see if I can show you. The bunk track feet have about a 3 to 4 inch forgiveness to where you can lower the corners or the sides of the bunk. But you definitely need to be really, really close, because if you start trying to level that thing out, it's going to be very difficult to do that on a leg by leg basis and still maintain the integrity across the whole thing. So we need to try to get our paving stones fairly level, so that when we put our 4x6s on top of that, which then on top of the 4x6s, the bunk rails will sit. So I'm gonna try to lift it up and get it, 6 inches plus off the ground, because as we start working with the log clamps and the log dogs, which are some of these little parts here, I think we're going to want to have some elevation. I don't think we're going to want to sit it directly on the ground. In addition to that, I want to get it up off the ground just a little bit, because otherwise I'm always going to be bending over. If this is, let's say this is the setup, and kind of see where this handle is in relation to my body. I'm going to have to bend over and push it instead of standing up here straight. There's no way to really do that. And so really getting it lifted up, another 6 inches or so is like really huge. It'll probably save my back. So anyway, all right, let me get the tractor out. We'll get the sand loaded up, and we'll get over and start leveling out the pavers. All right, so I ran and picked up a couple of 4x6s from a mail mall. My other two, one of them was twisted a little bit. Didn't want to play with that. I do have one more though that's decent, and I'll use that one if needed. But I think these three 4x6 8-footers should give me what I'm looking for. I'm going to cut 9 sections of 30 inches each, and then we'll get back over there and put those in place and get the railing, the bunks ready to rock and roll. One. We're gonna roll around here, pick up the 3 bundles of track. Whew. And let's start building. All right, so we've got everything out here to the site, and so we're going to take the 4x6 that I cut, and we're going to lay these across the pavers. I'll show you that real quick, and then we're just going to start unloading the boxes. In each box, we're going to have in each of these 3 boxes here, we're going to have a track rail. We're going to have some bunks. We'll have a center bunk, mid bunk, and end bunks, and so we'll get those laid out. And with the extension, this is going to be about 16 feet long, a little longer, I think, than 16 feet. And so we'll get all this laid out, and then we can take the hardware and start assembling, connecting the rails to the bunks and so forth. So I've got the rails laid in there, right? Of course, I'll maneuver them around a little bit. They've obviously got to be the correct width once I put the bunks in. So I'm gonna put the first bunk, which is the mid bunk, that will actually go right down here where it's, I think, where the 2 come together. And so I will install it first. All right. So to assemble the center bunk onto the rail, it says to use the 10 millimeter or M10 by 35 millimeter, which is what this is. And it's got a flange on the top of it. You can see that little lip running around the little flange. And then the bolt, the nut, is going to also have a flange on it. So both the bolt and the nut are flanged. And we're supposed to use that with this guy right here to put underneath the rail and sandwich that and lock it in. Let's do it. All right, so I won't bore you with the details of getting the rest of these put in there. Let me go ahead, throw the rest of the bunks on, and then we'll get to the feet, and I'll show you the feet side of things. And man, it's gonna be awesome. It's very, very sturdy. That's, like I said, I think that's the thing I was most surprised about. I knew the boxes were heavy, but you know, sometimes you can't really tell. But now, having pulled it out and have begun to lay it out and work with it, it's solid. It's incredibly solid. All right, I'll be back with you in a second. Okay, so I have got all the bunks installed. Now it's time to square the rails. And to do that, I got to go tip to tip, diagonal to diagonal, and make sure that it is square. Otherwise, the saw head will pinch as it's going down the rail system. I've made sure that the distance between each of the bunks is 30.5 inches. You know, I'm sitting there and I kept thinking to myself, I think I made a mistake on these 4x6 cuts. I cut them at 30 inches and the full width of it is 30.5, so I'm a half inch off. I'm hoping that it hanging over just a little bit's not going to hurt me. We'll find out. I don't think it will, but we'll find out. I think we're okay. And then I'm probably going to run out of daylight this evening. The next step will be to install the feet, and the feet, that's going to take a little bit more ingenuity because once I get this all tightened down, it's going to be one solid unit. It's going to be really, really good and sturdy and tight. I've got to be able to get the feet up under each of these blocks. And these are the feet. They're huge, which is awesome, but I got to be able to get them up underneath here, up underneath the block. Well, hey, Yara. All right. I'm going to get Karen over here to help me measure corner to corner, and we'll go from there.
Good girl, Yara. You led me straight to the guy that needed all the help, just like last time. Good girl.
Rescue dog. All right. I've got to pull the measuring tape from corner to corner to make sure that the measurements are the same. That way I know that this thing is square, perfectly square. I think I'm at 232.5, which means I got a half inch. I got to move this thing a half inch. Well, all right, we got everything nice and square. Everything is plumb and level. Well, I won't say level. We'll level it up when we get the feet on there for sure, but at least it's square. I'm going to run through and tighten down some of these bolts and make sure that they are nice and snug so it doesn't shift overnight or anything. We're expecting some nasty weather again tomorrow, so it's going to be rainy. I won't be able to get back out here for a couple of days on this, but we're close. We're very, very close. I can smell that first cut piece of wood now. We'll get there. We'll get there. Anyway, guys, hey, tomorrow, since it's raining, we're going to be back in the barn. We're going to be working on the lighting. We're going to get all the rest of the lights put up in the barn, which will be our next video, as well as we're working on the electrical outlets and the layout. We'll get talking a little bit more about the tool layout of my wood shop tomorrow. So until then, we hope you have a great week and a very blessed week. Until we see you again the next time, we will. See ya.